Hello. It's time for Guitar Lessons with Sam. So, a few people over the years have asked me to teach them how to play the guitar, and I've always said no, because I do not really know how to play the guitar for real. I have only learned from YouTube and things like that, but it's quarantine time. Maybe you have an old guitar you haven't used in a long time, so here are the absolute basics of how to play the guitar. And if you really like playing the guitar, then you should look up some other YouTube videos or go take lessons from like a for real guitar player person. Good? Okay, so first lesson is one of the most important things. You need to start by naming your guitar. That's very important. This guitar is Lucy. This one is named Oliver. So make sure you get a good name that matches his or her personality. Very important. Okay, so next, I think the next most important thing is just to kind of even start playing is to know how to kind of tune your guitar. So depending on your guitar, how old it is, if it's super cheap, then like how in tone it can get. Sometimes you can't get it like perfectly in tune, but I'm gonna show you how to do it. So if you're really good, you can figure out how to do it by ear. And you can learn like the names of the strings. I'm going to say this a few times in the video, but I just forgot. Elephants are darn good banana eaters. So that's what letter it's supposed to be on, the note it's supposed to be on. Elephants are darn good banana eaters. Starting at the top, going down. And that's, E, A, so on and so forth. Does that make sense? So, this is Lucy. I have not tuned Lucy for a while, but I thought I would kind of tune her up for you right now, and so you can kind of see it. This device is called a tuner. So I'm not super good. My ears just aren't well trained enough to really be able to just totally tune it by ear. There is a way to do it, and you can YouTube that if you want to. There's a way that you can match and make sure your guitar is in tune in itself. Also, there's lots of apps that are really useful for getting your guitar in tune. The one I have on my phone is called Guitar Tuna, like the fish, Guitar Tuna. So what you do is you get your app, or if you have one of these, then you turn it on, and then you do each string one at a time. So this is the E string, and maybe you can see it on here. If I get really close. This is the E string, and you can see, look, it's in tune. The A string is pretty close, it's going just a smidgen flat. So if I tighten it up a little bit, it goes just a little bit. So yeah, these little guys, you can tighten and untighten to make the string either tighter or looser. And the looser it is, the more flat it becomes, and the lower the sound is. So if I can make it really, really low. And then I can tighten it back up to get it right. So most tuners are really easy to use, and it's really obvious when it becomes in tune. I keep going. The D just a little bit flat. Try to get it right on. A little more. Normally you don't have to twist these a whole lot. Normally it's just like a little bit, unless it hasn't been tuned in a really, really long time, or if it's brand new. That one, you can hear that one. The G to get it up there. The B is a little flat too. And then the E. So yeah, so there you go. So that's basic. You want to try, you can fiddle around with that and learn how to do it. Sometimes people, if you have a piano, maybe you don't have a phone at all, then you can try to use a piano or even, use notes on some other instrument. But elephants are darn good banana eaters. That's what you do. And if your ears are good enough, then you can hear it and just kind of match the pitches together. So the next thing I think, like for most basic, is, well, I guess hands is probably pretty important. So you have a hand and you play chords, or you play a single string with your hand. And it takes some getting used to, because whenever you're pushing the string down, you're using the tips of your fingers. And so that's not super natural, and it's also about the most painful way to do it, but it is the way that works best. You You want to use just the tips, because if you kind of push on them flat, then it gets a buzzing sound, or it can't be pushed down all the way. And just practicing pushing down your fingers is really good. It will hurt and they'll callus eventually, but eventually you get used to it and it doesn't hurt as much. But yeah, whenever you push down, try to push down on the tips of your fingers. You can kind of see the little lines that are already on the tips of my fingers from playing just a little bit. Because you have to push pretty hard, and it takes some getting used to. But if you practice, then you get better and you develop the calluses, and it's fine. So tips of your fingers, the thumb's almost always in the back. Try to think about making a fist, sort of. You're squeezing. You're not necessarily like pulling back with your arm, but you're squeezing your hand. You're kind of making a fist. And at first, you'll have to like push really hard, because it takes a while for your muscles to develop and everything. So that's pretty hard. Tuning, hand. Next thing, if you just want to get to it, like what I use the guitar for is I play it just mostly to sing along. I just play it so I can sing along, and so all I really know how to do are play chords. So chords on a guitar are a set of however many notes, normally 3 notes, and I'm playing 6 strings, but I'm only playing 3 notes, if that makes sense. And every song that exists is made up of chords. So I can play chords, and then I can sing along the melody, you know? And it's pretty easy to do with some practice. I'm not very good. You can also, if you get good, you can do all kinds of, you know, play in the actual songs and all that cool electric guitar stuff and more fancy Ed Sheeran stuff, things like that. But I'm not that fancy. So what I want to show you is just one chord. Or maybe even more importantly, of how to read a chord chart. So I hope this is not backwards. Is that backwards? I think it is kind of backwards. Yeah, I think it is a little bit. Is it? I don't know. I'm not sure if this is going to like flip it around. But anyway, so chord chart. So if you look at the guitar, the fattest string is on your right. Right now I think it's on your left, but it's over here. This one. And it matches this. So elephants are darn good banana eaters, and then elephants are darn good banana eaters. And so on a chord chart, it's just basically looks like a grid, but it's showing you where to put your fingers to form the chord. So G is the one I recommend working on first. It's not the easiest. It's a little harder, but it's very, very basic, and it can use all 4 fingers. Some versions only have 3 fingers, some have 4. I like the 4 version better. And for a starting chord to kind of get your hand going and build up that strength, it's a good place to start is with the G chord, G major. So you'll notice that whenever I do play the chord, like they're the same thing on the chord chart. So there's nothing here on this top one, and this first little grid represents this first section. So whenever you play, you don't put your finger on the lines, on these frets. You put your finger in between them. Does that make sense? So you wouldn't play here, you wouldn't put your finger here, you would put it here, or here, or here. Not on the line. Does that make sense? Okay. And so this chord chart, there's nothing in the first fret. So there's no fingers that are going to be here to play a G chord. But we come down and there is one finger right here on the A string. And so I'm putting my first finger on the A string. Maybe I'll get closer. This works. My first finger is on the A string, this second one, right here. So it's like 2, 2. Okay, right here. And then my third finger, my middle finger, is coming up here on the E string, right there. You can see that. So here, here, these are the top. And then lastly, on the other side, you can kind of compare, like, look, it's in the same one as my middle finger, see? And so my middle finger's here on this third one, and then my other 2 fingers are down here. So here's my ring finger, and here's my pinky finger, okay? And so figuring that out is what's just going to take a lot of time, and you just kind of have to think about it, and just whenever you Google this, you Google chord chart, and you'll get a whole bunch. There's a whole bunch of these chord charts. And it's pretty easy. Some of them have suggestions on like which finger to use to play Sometimes you do it a little different than the way the chord chart says. You just kind of have to figure it out and take some time. This is the way I learned it, so yeah, I just kind of figured it out and like what was best for me and what worked for my fingers, and yeah. And so this is a G chord. This is a G chord on a chord chart. It's really simple. This is exactly the same as this. Whenever I hold up the guitar and put them both together, they're exactly the same thing. So yeah, finger, finger, dot, dot, finger, finger. They're the exact same thing. So the chord chart, when you look at it, and especially if it's up, sometimes they'll make them like this too. And so then it's like this, but it's just an exact replica of the top part here. And sometimes there'll be a line, which means you bar it like this. Sometimes at the bottom they'll have numbers, and if it's like, it'll tell you like this would be 2, this would be 3, 3, 3. Sometimes there's a 0, and the 0 means not played. Sometimes there's an X, and that means you're supposed to mute it, which is a little more advanced. But to start, just try to work on just a few chords, just the G chord. So Google that later and get a chord chart and just learn how to play the G. And if enough people watch this video and are like, huh, that's interesting, then I'll make another one and we'll actually like learn a song or something and learn some more chords. But for now, work on just that G chord. Think about how your hand try to play it without any buzzing. Because like if you go too loose, then it buzzes. If you don't get right on, then it makes funny sounds. So if you can play that chord without any buzzing, play each string individually, and then that will give it so you can kind of get your hand used to it and make it so there's no buzzing. All right? So that's your homework for lesson 1. So this is just for fun video, so anybody's interested. But there's lots and lots of other YouTube videos out there that are good at teaching the guitar. So go to it, YouTube it, it's awesome. Let me know what you think, and if you're actually like watching this and trying to learn, then let me know especially, so then I will like maybe make another one if we need to. All right. Thanks guys, bye.